Aaron, 33 degrees tomorrow. How does that impact the game? And if you win the toss, will that have an impact on what you do?
No, not at all. We're obviously used to playing in very hot conditions, so that won't have any impact on what we do first or anything else that goes with the day. It hasn't been a day-night game here yet, so that's why we're training tonight as well, just to get as much information as we can about tomorrow, if there's likely to be any type of duel or any kind of assistance in the wicket, things like that. So we'll weigh all that stuff up tonight after we get a bit more info.
Your team's looking good, you're on fire, and you're the favourites to win this whole damn thing. So how do you, I guess, deal with that pressure? What do you think about that kind of pressure? And what would it mean for Australian cricket to win the World Cup this year, given the ball tampering scandal?
Oh, I think that any time that you have pressure on you, it's because the expectation's high, because of what you have done in the recent history. So you can never shy away from that, and you can look at it either way. You can look at it as a burden, and only you can stuff it up. But I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about favouritism and things like that, you also have to appreciate the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes from the coaches and everyone to get to that position. And whether it's us, England, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, Bangladesh, I think that the expectation for everyone is all the same, that you turn up and you can win the World Cup. So if it did happen, it would be a huge achievement for the country.
Aaron, in reference to something said during the week about the use of data inside the side, you explained that that's what governed why Jason came into the team against England, and obviously it went really well. Would it be fair to depict it as the same reasons that you picked Jason against England due to the data would be similar reasons why you could leave him out against New Zealand, and it'd be no hard feelings in that people just sort of accept inside the squad that there are matchups and you'll play when you're suited and you won't play when you're not suited? Yeah,
absolutely, and we've been really open and clear with that with the players from the start. The expectation of everyone being as flexible as they possibly can be. That comes from the batting order to selection. There's times when you still have to go with a gut feel on a particular player on a certain surface. So you can read a lot into the numbers, but at the end of the day, there's also a lot of experience in our group with the coaching staff, some senior players that will talk about teams and things like that. So there's a lot of experience that sometimes the numbers don't quite add up to what everyone's thinking as well. So then you have to take some calculated risks and a bit of a punt at times on selection, on how you use guys with the ball in particular, and structuring up sometimes with the bat. But I think flexibility is the key, and everyone's been on board with that. There's been no whinging or anything like that when someone's been left out for a specific reason. So I think that's a sign of a really solid group, that you understand that 11 or 15 doesn't go into 11. So there's always a couple of really tough calls each game.
Aaron, the last time you guys played the Kiwis in a pressure cooker situation was probably the World Cup final, and
yep.
New Zealand crumbled in that situation. They've got a bit of pressure on them again this week, needing to win one of these last two games to make the semi-finals. Do you see that as a weakness of the Black Caps side and something that you can exploit?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's a weakness. I think it's a funny thing about knockout games and finals and things like that, is that all it takes is one or two balls or something to change the momentum of a game. It doesn't mean you had a stinker on the day. It doesn't mean that you're outclassed or anything like that. It just makes it somebody else beats you. And I think if you get beaten on the day, you can wear that. If you fall a bit short here and there, you can wear being beaten by a better opposition who outclass you or outskill you on the day. But I think the great thing with New Zealand is that they fight and scrap every single game, regardless of whether it's a World Cup final or it's a club game. That's a part of how they play their best cricket. And I know under Kane they certainly do fight and scrap for every run in the field. They're a great fielding side. They put pressure on you. They've got world-class players. So it's going to be a good game tomorrow, no doubt.
Aaron, Johnny Bairstow has claimed that the media in this country are just waiting for England to fail. I don't know how much TV you watch during your time in England or how many papers you read, but is that your feeling of the English media, that they're just waiting for England to trip up, or do you even experience that perhaps from the Australian media?
I haven't seen anything written. I've watched a bit of TV, a bit of Sky News and things like that you see some stuff. But in terms of papers, we don't have them around our team room. We don't have them around the dressing room. We've made a conscious effort of that over the tournament, and that was basically on the back of coming over here. We knew that there'd be some stuff written and there'd be some opinions had when we first landed in the country. So we just wanted to take as much white noise as we could away from our focus. So it is quite hard to comment on it because I honestly haven't seen much of it.
Aaron, I guess in sort of the wake of what happened in Cape Town last year, all nations have sort of reassessed how they've gone about playing on the field in terms of their demeanour and the like. Do you feel this World Cup's been played in perhaps a better spirit than perhaps it may have been hadn't that incident happened and nations hadn't sort of really reassessed it?
I think everything. It has been a great spirit out in the field, regardless of results. You see everyone. You see a lot of smiles on people's faces, which is a good sign that the game's in really good hands at the moment, and it is being played in the right spirit. And I think that I'm not sure if it's been a conscious effort from individual countries, but it certainly felt like a really good tournament. Tough to compare different times. I know the last one was quite an aggressive World Cup on the field, mainly from us. We were quite aggressive in our approach and how we went about things. But it's been great. This one has been absolutely brilliant. And I think what's been really pleasing as well is you look around the stands, regardless of who's playing. In the past, if the home team's not playing, there could be some really empty stands. But this has been unbelievable. They've been packed out venues and some really quality cricket. So people are definitely getting their value for money too.
Aaron, how strong of a temptation is there to give Mitch Starc or Pat Cummins a rest over these next two games with the semi-final spot locked up?
Quite minimal, to be honest. They're both feeling really good at the moment. So if it was going to happen at all, yeah, slightly tempting. But at the same time, you don't want to tempt fate. You don't want to upset the apple cart just for no reason, really. And that also comes down to how they're feeling as well. And they're both feeling great at the moment. I know that they've got no interest whatsoever in being rested or anything like that. And as a coaching staff and management of the players, everyone's really on the same page in that regard to try and keep up our winning momentum and making sure that we're never taking anything for granted in this tournament.
Yeah, you say you don't want to take anything for granted, but also players are always very keen to play by and large.
Yeah.
So how do you strike that balance? Because presumably you want to be resting people before there's an injury issue, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got that opportunity now, given you've already qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, the guys are in really good form as well, so you don't want to tempt that. I mean, we've got a week between our next game, so we play Saturday, then we play South Africa the following Saturday. So that was a part of the reason we didn't want to rest anyone as well, because we feel as though that week will be a really good opportunity for the bowlers to really freshen up and deload in them first 3 or 4 days after this match to manage them through the next part of the tournament, and obviously with a huge summer coming up here with the Ashes and all going forward. So that was also, our scheduling's been quite good in that regard, that we had our really busy period sort of right at the start. So now it's 4 days between games and then a week between games. So the guys will still get a lot of time to freshen up in that time.
Aaron, just another bigger picture thing. What have you made of the format of this World Cup as we get towards the finals? Obviously, there were no groups. Every country plays each other once. Have you liked that? Has it gone on too long? What are your thoughts?
No, I really like it personally, and this is only a personal opinion, that I think compared to the last World Cup, when you're in groups, you can sort of dodge teams. For example, we didn't play South Africa in the last World Cup, and they're such a great side, or they were a great side in that World Cup. They were so dangerous and were unlucky not to make the final. But we didn't have to play them at any point in the competition. So I really like the idea of having having everyone play each other. It'd be nice to get some more teams in there, but then I think you're looking at a tournament that goes probably a bit too long. So I personally think the balance is really good at the moment.
Going back to another thing Johnny said the other day, Johnny Bairstow, he said that pitches for this World Cup have been different to what they played on in bilateral series in the last few years. Going back to the 2015 World Cup, did you feel like you guys had an advantage on the pitches you played on? Should the home team get an advantage?
I think, I'm not sure how they go about the preparation in terms of the ICC, what they have in what protocols they have with pitches and curators and people overseeing that process. I'm not entirely sure. I think that in the last World Cup, it was all bar a couple of games in New Zealand, and we had one washout, but the sun was shining, so there was no real change in the wickets. I think over here, having a really wet first couple of weeks of the tournament probably set some curators back in terms of what their ideal preparation would have been, but they've still been good, entertaining wickets. You can look at it two ways. People want 400, and they see that as an entertaining game, and teams getting close. I personally think that the games that are 220, 240, that are real arm wrestles, that have more momentum shifts back and forward, are more entertaining. So I think from an overall point of view, they might be slightly different to what they've been used to, but I think that that's dictated by the weather as well.
Aaron, you've predominantly been on the road since the Big Bash final. Just hoping if you could give us a window into how tough is life? I mean, away for so long, the sacrifices made. You've got a teammate having a baby here on the weekend. When family period starts, what that's like, how you stay fresh, and all the challenges that go with so much travel.
It can be tough at times. My wife's travelled with me a fair bit lately. She's over here for a couple of months while I stay on and play for Surrey as well. So it can be tough. It's important that when you get days off, you really get away from the game and freshen up. For me, that's before my wife got here, it was about getting out and playing golf. But now it's more like shopping and things like that. And mini golf the other day. That's as close I've got to the course since she's been here. Sorry, darling. I'll cop that later. But it's about getting away from the game and make sure you're refreshing as much as you can. Whatever, for some guys, that's totally different ends of the spectrum. But I think overall, it's good to be as a group for as long as we are, but also just making sure that if there's half a day, that you take that for yourself and really make sure that you're doing everything that you can to clear your mind. For me, that's cafes and golf. For Usman, that's shopping. He loves his shopping and things like that. A few of us play golf. Steve Smith still walking around his room with a cricket bat in his hand. So I think it's just totally different for everyone, but just mentally refreshing every chance you get is so important.
Thanks, everyone.